Today I come to you to ask for your support in convincing our state legislative body to legalize marijuana in the state of South Carolina for medical purposes. According to Meg Kennard of the Associated Press, on Thursday, March 28th, South Carolina lawmakers took a step closer to becoming one of the newest states to legalize marijuana for medical purposes. On an 8-6 vote, the Senate Medical Affairs Committee approved a measure that would allow the use of medical marijuana to treat some patient. It now goes to the full Senate, but bill sponsor Senator Tom Davis said he knows it won't get ultimate approval. This legislative year, which wraps up in May, but there are high hopes for 2019. Dr. Peter Grimson of Harvard Medical explains that there are two types of marijuana, and they are called cannabis or cannabidiol. Cannabidiol is the extract from the hemp plant that is known as CBD. Because this component of marijuana has little, if any, intoxicating properties, it is sometimes the preferred choice for the doctors because it does not get patients high and is the least controversial form of the two. Patients do report many benefits from CBD, such as relief of insomnia, anxiety, spasticity, and pain, as well as in excess of treating potentially life-threatening diseases such as epilepsy. Cannabis is the most commonly used form for medical marijuana in the United States. Marijuana is clearly a safer option than opiates. Marijuana appears to ease the pain of multiple sclerosis and nerve pain in general. It can be a great muscle relaxant and can lessen tremors in those who have Parkinson's disease. It has also been used quite successfully for fibromyalgia, endometriosis, and many other conditions where the final common pathway is chronic pain. Marijuana is often also used to manage nausea and weight loss and can be used to treat glaucoma. A very promising area of research is in its use for PTSD victims, for PTSD in veterans who are returning from combat zones. Medical marijuana is often reported to help patients suffering from pain and wasting syndrome associated with HIV, as well as irritable bowel syndrome and Crohn's disease. I moved to South Carolina from Illinois, who legalized marijuana for medical purposes in 2013. The results that I have seen of a family member that has severe Crohn's disease for over 20 years are remarkable. Dana has a colostomy bag for over 6 years after constant failure with medication and surgeries on her intestines. She was in constant pain and hurt all the time. She has been using medical marijuana for just under 2 years, and the difference in how she feels is amazing. She was not very enthusiastic about attempting this course of treatment, but is in a much better place physically and mentally because of it. I also have a friend, Debbie, that is fighting cancer. Following chemo and radiation treatments, she was weak, tired, and down to under 100 pounds. She too started medical marijuana reluctantly. The way this has helped in controlling her nausea and joint pain has helped her to gain weight, get stronger, and return to a more normal lifestyle. There are currently 29 states, and along with Washington, D.C., that have some form of legislation, but the use of marijuana is still considered a federal crime. It is important to note that each state sets its own rules to follow. According to marijuana doctors, patients looking to qualify for medical marijuana in the state of South Carolina must be a resident of South Carolina who can prove residency, must have medical records documenting. Patient must be able to obtain a copy of their medical records indicating their past medical history and that being diagnosed with a qualifying condition that has been outlined by the state of South Carolina. Patients must obtain a written documentation from a medical practitioner. Patients must obtain a prescription from a South Carolina medical practitioner, so stating the patients are qualified and will find relief from cannabis. You must apply for and receive a medical marijuana card from the state of South Carolina. The Compassionate Care Act, when passed, will provide treatment guidelines by specifying a list of conditions for which medical marijuana can be used. According to Marijuana Policy Project, in 2002, marijuana possession arrests, as opposed to the manufacture or sale, accounted for 88% of all marijuana-related arrests in South Carolina. Unfortunately, these arrests affect minority communities in South Carolina the most. According to the ACLU, the Black South Carolinians are almost 3 times as likely to be arrested as their white neighbors, despite similar use. These arrests are made at the expense of preventing and solving violent and property crimes. Thankfully, now South Carolina lawmakers realize that it's time to reform the state's criminal penalties for marijuana possession to free up the necessary time and money to go after violent criminals. If you live in South Carolina, please email your lawmakers. Please email your lawmakers in support of compassionate, comprehensive medical marijuana legislation. Ask your leaders to support common sense penalties for marijuana possession and urge them to end marijuana prohibition and replace it with a system to tax and regulate marijuana in South Carolina.